Thank you so much for joining Optimistic Opportunities. I'm Carl Johnson, and our guest today is Chris Antonello. And Chris is a marketing strategist at ROI Revolution. And you are in for a treat today. This young gentleman is one of the most put together, goal-oriented, positive, always smiling people that I have had the pleasure of working with. Chris, welcome.
It's very nice of you, Carl. Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Little history about Chris. Chris and I had the honor of getting to know each other as Chris was working with my real estate company while Chris was at UNC Chapel Hill. And he did such a bang-up job. He was amazing. I've had Chris come back and talk to our marketing team, since then, and provide some insights and some information about what he does now, and that's been really fun. Actually, I'm just so proud of your success and your growth, and you continuing to grow in your professional world now. So congratulations.
Thank you so much, Carl. That really means a lot coming from you, especially considering the brief amount of time that we had to work together. The way that you've been able to stay in touch with me, I think that's just really been, it just speaks to your character, and I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you for that. So we're not here to talk about work. We're here to talk about what are we doing to get through this really strange time. Of course, we're not ignoring the fact that people are having really challenging time. In fact, that's actually why we do this, is to help people that are having challenging times, to give them some tools and ideas of the different guests that we have every week on Optimistic Opportunities, of what our guest is doing to get through this challenging time. So that's what it's all about. And I'm a true believer in hunkering down together, keeping in touch with people, like you said, being there for each other, helping each other. So I think it's really important to just remember to help one another during this time. Question number one. What is helping you to see the bright side of things?
For me, it really comes down to faith. I think that I would be in a much darker place if I didn't have a strong belief in not only God, but have my own values that I really adhere to, and really make me think of all of the things that I'm grateful for. So many people over the years have said that the key to happiness is gratitude, and I think that's really true. So every night I make a conscious effort to say a prayer and just thank God for everything that I've been blessed with in my time. I have obviously a roof over my head, and I have food on the table and things like that. But I also think about, I have friends who are supportive. I am employed, which is really great and something to never take for granted. Just when you think about all of the things that you can, that are really a positive in your life, then it really drowns out whatever is negative. And there's plenty of negative to go around. So I don't know, I just have never really wanted to focus on that. I will always want to focus on what can move me forward.
I do a lot of what you said, and then I also just started adding something to my morning routine. Is when I wake up in the morning, I tell myself that I'm excited about doing X, Y, and Z, whatever those things might be, more challenging to do that day, that I sort of have to really push myself to do. I'm like, I'm really excited about doing blah, 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 blah. So I psych myself up for it.
Absolutely. I think that's really the key. You always have to have something to look forward to. And I think in a lot of cases, what's happened is, there had been plans on the table. I know so many colleagues who have had to postpone weddings and, trips and things like that. So I always like to challenge myself. So what is the next thing that we're going to be looking forward to in the future. It might be work related, it might be in your personal life, but if you find something that is over the horizon, then I think you're just in a better spot. I think it's kind of a human trait to be looking forward to something.
Definitely. And I've been sitting in my office down this way, down the hall, and since March. And I make myself work from 9 to 5 every Monday through Friday. And then, of course, I'm doing stuff in the evenings and weekends as well for my clients too. But that 9 to 5 time is sacred time still for me, to making sure that I'm working. You remember that, Chris? And it's, it's been a long time sitting in that one room by myself, Zooming with people, going out and seeing clients and stuff too. But, for the most part, being there and doing everything remotely as much as possible with my clients. And so for that reason, next Tuesday, I'm changing my scenery around me, and I'm going to be at the beach for 8 days with a different view of something. I'm still going to work from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and I've interfaced with my clients and making sure that they won't need me personally during that time in person.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is something to take away, though. I mean, here in North Carolina, it's a little bit different. We can just drive straight down to the beach, no problem. I don't have to worry about flights. But, I think there are certain things that you could fall into a trap of. This is, a beach trip is off the table because of everything that's going on in the world and everything is shut down. Well, you could absolutely go to the beach. You could maybe, instead of going out to dinner when you go, you just, stock the fridge with more groceries this time. But, really dedicating some time to family and friends is important, and absolutely a change of scenery, I think, does wonders.
Now that we've been in this for a while, what have you learned?
I've learned the importance of routines. You mentioned it earlier, and I think it's really crucial to having a structured life that, and it really doesn't, I don't think, have to be siloed to this period in our lives. I think it's something that that really should be lived by. And I'm talking about a work routine and a, kind of a leisure routine, but most importantly, I think, is the moment you wake up, what do you do in those first 2 hours? I know studies have been done saying that those are the most productive hours of your life. Well, I wake up around 5 a.m. most days, and I'm not going to be productive at work at 5 a.m. That's ridiculous. Nobody's awake. So what can I do? I can get right out of bed. First of all, I don't know the last time I hit the snooze alarm, which is great. And 3 days a week, I go for a run. The other 2 days, I do some core training. Just get that blood pumping in the early part of the day. Dedicate some time to sitting down, eating breakfast, instead of just like kind of rushing through it. It's a real routine. I think, was it Jocko Willink? I forget who it was who wrote the book, Make Your Bed. Is like the most simple rule for a structured life is, just have something like that, make your bed every morning. And I think it just, again, is a little bit of a human trait to want to fall into habits. But there's no reason for those habits to be bad ones. They can absolutely be good ones. I think something for me that I thought I was going to struggle with was I thought I was going to tell myself, well, now I don't have this 25-minute commute in the morning. So why don't I sleep in for 25 minutes? And so the first week of quarantine, I just decided not to change my alarm. And so as a result, I've just stayed up. I've just woken up at the same time I normally would, but now I have 20, 25 minutes extra in my day.
That's awesome. And what was that book that you mentioned?
It's called Make Your Bed. I can't remember who it's by.
Your Bed.
It's just called Make Your Bed. Mm-hmm.
Cool. It's easy to remember.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. And that actually speaks to reading. Definitely being important. I think just like taking the time that you might be dedicating to a commute or something like that, and translating it into something a little bit more meaningful, something like listening to a podcast or reading a really good book. Really great one that a lot of people call life-changing is called Man's Search for Meaning. It's by Viktor Frankl. He is a Holocaust survivor who writes about his time in the concentration camps and how he was able to get through it. And while there are really great lessons in there, I think number one is we're not in that situation at all. Things get difficult, but and we do sometimes fall into comparing our lives with others. If you want to compare your life with somebody who's really struggling, compare it with Viktor Frankl. Compare it with somebody who's gone through so much worse than we could even imagine.
But how are you taking care of your mental and physical health? And what do you do to pay attention to your mental health during this reset? I like to refer to it as.
Yeah. So for me, I think the most important thing, and probably the most challenging for a lot of people these days, is the separation of work and personal life. Because in the past, work was at your office and maybe you could check email on your phone, but even if you did, you probably weren't going to be able to act on it until you were back at your computer, back in the office talking with your coworkers the next day. These days, it's just right down the hall, or it might even be right across from your bed or something like that. So it's always there, kind of almost taunting you. So I think it's really important to keep that separate. So for me, usually, 5:30 at the end of the day, I, lock up, computer is shut down. If somebody needs something, my manager has my phone number if she needs to text me, but most of the time there isn't going to be an emergency. There's something that can wait until the morning. I can take a little bit of time to, kind of decompress and have a little bit of time just to myself. So that's for mental health. And then for physical, like I said, just making sure that I'm in literal physical good shape. But, just to expand on it, I had signed up probably in January for the Tar Heel 10 miler. So obviously I was really bummed when that got canceled. But it did become a virtual race. And while you could run it or you could not, you'd still get the t-shirt and the medal. I just decided, why don't I run this? I was gonna run a 10 miler. Why don't I run it on the day it was supposed to be, record my time, and improve. And it actually inspired me to participate then in a 10K. And then I just signed up for my first half marathon this fall. So really in terms of exercise and staying fit, it's never been better than it is now for me.
That's awesome. If there's anything that we can do to create some type of normalcy in our lives, as opposed to having this reset affect everything about our lives, it's kind of nice to carry on with the things that we were going to do anyway, if it's safe, of course. So next week, we had a guest scheduled, and she unfortunately has a conflict, so I had to move her later. So I'm filling that spot in. So normally I say, next week, tune in and hear blah, blah, blah. I can't tell you who that person is yet. I'm going to figure that out today. So next week, we will have Optimistic Opportunities, and we'll have a guest. But just watch the social media feed if you're curious to see who will be on it, or go to carljohnsonrealestate.com, and you can go to the Optimistic Opportunities tab, and you'll see them all listed there for the schedule. So, but Chris, thank you so much for joining us today. It's always a joy to speak with you. I always learn so much from you. You're awesome.
I appreciate that so much, Carl. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really honored to have been invited to your Optimistic Opportunities.
My pleasure. So y'all have a great day and help one another. Bye-bye.